This is the Pinochet podcast for DQ's Honors Latin American History class. General Augusto Pinochet Ugarte is arguably one of the most controversial figures of 20th century Latin American history, and possibly of history in and of itself. He is solely responsible for the disappearances, imprisonments, and deaths of thousands of Chileans over his 17-year period as president. Just a little background. He was born of French and Basque ancestry in early 20th century Chile, and after much primary and secondary schooling in Marist Brothers education, his mother really pushed him to attend La Escuela Militar, and from there is where he began to work his way up to the ranks of the military, from officer to colonel to commander-in-chief of the army, etc. Pinochet had his first encounter with Salvador Allende in 1948, when Pinochet ran a military prison for communist captives, and Allende was a doctor and socialist senator visiting the prisoners. After much back and forth within the military for Pinochet, 1970 strikes and Allende has won the presidency. Knowing full well that Allende is a socialist and potential Marxist, U.S. President Richard Nixon consulted with the CIA's Henry Kissinger to make sure Allende did not get inaugurated. With the allocation of about $10 million, the CIA attempted to bribe key Chilean military and political figures in the hope of conducting a coup and even assassinating those who did not comply, all while keeping this under the table, as is clearly demonstrated in the CIA document of October of 1970. Quote, "It is imperative that these actions be implemented clandestinely and securely so that the U.S. government and American hand be well hidden." End quote. But as the CIA did what they could, the Soviets beat them to the punch, and Allende began to work closely with the KGB and the Kremlin. After the primary establishment of socialist ideals and their even temporary successes, Pinochet wins the trust of Allende just as the economy began to crumble down, and all while the CIA continued its funding of opposition forces in and out of the government. Pinochet was uninformed of the plans for the coup until 3 days before, but takes full control and oversees a violent overthrow in Santiago, including the bombing of the presidential palace. Pinochet takes Chile by the throat now and orders martial law, burning books, censoring media, outlawing Marxist groups and union activists, and murdering those close in relation to and direct alliance with Allende himself. He implements his own type of 1950s McCarthyism, his own Red Scare, imprisoning up to 250,000 people in the first months after the coup, and keeping them in stadiums and military bases as temporary mass prisons. An example of this would be the famous Chilean singer Victor Jara. Augusto Pinochet further implements the DINA, something of a capitalist KGB. The secret police was responsible for the imprisonment of thousands, as well as the assassinations of many abroad. Throughout the rest of his years as leader of Chile, Pinochet continued the onslaught of his own people, but at the same time bolstered the economy of Chile with the help of the Chicago Boys, a group of about 25 young Chilean economists studying and working in the University of Chicago under the likes of Milton Friedman. True, Pinochet was a murderer, a killer, a defiant figure of human morality, but he had the interests of the United States at heart. And that is what sustained him. That is what kept him going throughout his 17 years in direct office and another 7 through political influence. And yet, through all his controversial conduct, complete disregard for human life and stability, deliberate onslaught and disgusting crimes against humanity, he stepped down once people said enough, unlike other Latin American military leaders, and ultimately, at least economically, left Chile better off than how he found it. That was the Pinochet podcast for DQ's Honors Latin American History class.